Miro Gladovic, FIFA licensed football agent of Australian descent. Today, he will discuss opportunities for players globally, sharing insights into how athletes can navigate and succeed in the international football landscape.
I will share with you a little bit more about why I'm here tonight, and that is to share my platform Soccer Family Agent, which is all about empowering not only parents but players and enlightening them about the professional pathways that are available that I think 99% of people are unaware of. Less than 1% of youth athletes in any sport make it to the professional ranks, but every player is on a pathway. And that's one thing that I love doing, that many youth athletes, whether it's in soccer or other sports, they don't have anyone managing their pathway. And not only managing it, but leveraging it and guiding them and making the most to ensure that that player, that person, that individual is getting the maximum opportunities that basically are out there that most people are either not aware of or are unable to join the dots to. The workshop that I took last week for the players and parents, and we had about 20 players and about 30 parents. And I started my workshop by asking the players and parents to put their hand up if they dreamt or had aspirations of turning professional. And I'm always surprised and I'm always intrigued about what kind of response I'm going to get. And I had one 15-year-old boy put his hand up and said, "Yep, well, they all put their hand up, sorry." And then I said, "Well, keep your hand up if you know what that pathway looks like." And it was that one 15-year-old boy that said, kept his hand up, and the rest all put their hand down, which wasn't surprising to me. And I said to the kid, I said, "Well, let me know if that pathway doesn't work. Do you have a backup?" And he said, "No, I don't." I said, "Do you have 5 backups?" And he says, "Oh, I don't have a second one. How can I have 5?" I said, "Do you have 20? Do you have 30? Do you have 50? And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, that's what it takes. That's what I did as a FIFA agent. That was my role when I managed the pathway of a 16-year-old youth player that had aspirations of turning pro. I had endless backup plans because that's what an agent does." And when I use the term agent, I want to stress that it's not just this, Jerry Maguire type shark guy that, is living the Jerry Maguire lifestyle on the phone with major league clubs. No, an agent in the soccer capacity that I convey it with the Soccer Family Agent, it is an opportunity broker. It is a mentor. It is a psychologist. It's a cheerleader. It's a friend. It's a collaborator. That's the kind of management a soccer family agent needs to have to uplift and develop a young player. In America, everybody believes that whatever sport a young player is playing in, the only pathway to the professional ranks is through college, prove yourself there, and then you'll get drafted. But in soccer, that is non-existent. And I'll use another analogy that I use in my workshops as well, particularly for parents. So if you're sitting and listening to this, I would ask you to imagine when you drive your daughter to school, and imagine for all these years, you just drove your daughter to school, dropped her off, picked her up at the end of the day, generically asked, "How was your day? What did you learn?" Great. Next day, you did the same thing over and over, year after year, never got involved in their scholastic career, their academics, never worried about, report cards or parent-teacher interviews, never got involved in their academic development. And it's something that you can't imagine, right? So then I ask these parents who have these aspirations for their sons and daughters to hopefully see if they can realize their dream of becoming a professional soccer players. What would be the difference between not getting involved in those aspirations versus your academic ones? And it's probably the best example that I could use. I mean, it's just, you wouldn't. You wouldn't sit back and rely on, your daughter to manage their own academics, not monitor, what their aspirations are professionally, not, be involved in, what career path they want to choose, what college they want to go to. It's the absolute opposite. And that's the kind of involvement that I really advocate for parents, that, if they have, daughters that are playing soccer, that if nothing else, they would at least like to have a shot at becoming a pro, even if it's, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, then why would you not get involved in that process? And that's where, my Soccer Family Agent course is not only about empowering a parent to become as capable as any professional soccer agent, but also have the capabilities to manage the career pathway potentially of your daughter or son becoming a professional soccer player. And as I said earlier, that involves being involved in every facet of their development, their ongoing process, their mental state, their emotional state, their developmental state when it comes to the technical side of the game, what else can be done. So a whole spectrum of things that you do on the academic side, that should be being done on the soccer side as well. And again, it all stems from player management. And at the same time, you've got to know what the landscape looks like out there. And again, I pose this question to a lot of players and parents. And again, I ask them to put their hands up and, tell me how well they know the American soccer landscape. Do they know all the leagues out there? Do they know all the professional leagues? Do they know all the professional clubs? Do they know all the academies? Do they know the second tier developmental leagues? Do they know all the clubs? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. They don't know the exact leagues. They don't know where the clubs are located. They don't know, what these teams are, where they are. And again, I pose to them a similar analogy. If you're in college and you're doing all the hard work and getting great grades, and say getting a law degree, for example, are you nearing the end of your degree and not being aware of what law firms there are out there, where they're located, what the bigger ones are, what the smaller ones are, when they recruit, how they recruit? Do you sit back and wait for them to find you? No, none of the above. So again, you need that person acting on your behalf to join the dots, to inform you, this is the landscape. This is what it looks like at the top. This is what it looks like in the middle. This is what it looks like at entry level. These are the avenues. These are the people that we should be talking to. These are the interviews, or for soccer players, tryouts that we should be working towards. So it's a whole spectrum of dynamics and things that need to be done, because again, remember the draft system? Throw it out the window. There's no such thing. Like I said, MLS still have a draft, and they do take, I think, about 95 players on the men's side out of 15,000 players in college every year. Even out of those 90 players, less than, I think, 45 will end up with a pro contract. So again, on the women's side now, there is no more drafting for the National Women's Soccer League. They dropped that last year. So now it's purely recruitment at a grassroots level. It's recruitment done through the assistant coaches, the scouts of the teams. And these are the people that a representative needs to be getting to. Otherwise, if you're sitting back waiting to be discovered, you're going to be no different than the university student who's completing their degree, and rather than lobbing out resumes left, right, and center and, beating down people's doors, you're going to be sitting back and waiting for that big law firm or the small law firm to come find you in your university and to come and recruit you. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in any profession, and it certainly doesn't work that way in the soccer world. It makes sense to me that a family member is the ideal candidate to take on this responsibility. And not only that, in all of my years when I was based in Europe, honestly, nearly every second player that arrived in the boardroom when I was negotiating my contracts for my clients, there was always a family member, be it a parent or a sibling, that was with them and they were the catalyst for that player making it to the professional ranks. And it's not very well publicized, but if you look up Lionel Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, Harry Kane, all of them have a parent who is one or one of their major representatives. So it's not something that's, publicized, but it is an actual fact that the catalyst for a lot of these players making it to the pros are a parent or a sibling that have taken that responsibility, learnt the landscape, the ropes, the processes, and then instilled that and generated that opportunity for their players from the time they were youth soccer players, taking them to the pros and beyond. And that's the direction the women's game is going. So, if you're a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, by the time you're 18, there's going to be probably twice as many clubs and opportunities out there for you to turn pro. But that process should start now. It should start immediately, leveraging and having someone acting on your behalf that a year or two from now, they're going to be more savvy and more knowledgeable than Jerry Maguire and be able to join the dots and generate opportunities that can deliver you real professional, not only tryouts, but contracts and, deliver you to the promised land in terms of realizing your dream of becoming a professional soccer player. I just recently launched World Soccer Resource Center as a standalone website, but it's structured as one of the main modules out of the 8 modules, just so as parents are learning about becoming a soccer family agent, they then get to know the landscape. But the soccer family agent course, there it is there. That's the one where you take the course, and it's an 8 module course. It takes 13 hours, but it's all broken up into 20-minute segments. And that's where you learn everything that it takes about managing the soccer player in your family, and also getting to know the landscape in terms of the World Soccer Resource Center.
I dropped in the chat, I dropped a link to the worldsoccerresourcecenter.com. Hopefully everybody sees it there. I wanted to just take a quick moment and just show you the website as well, and just take 30 seconds here. But I've been playing with it for a while now, and for example, I just kind of scroll through. Let's say here you wanted to pick a country, right, that you were potentially interested in. Maybe it's Germany, right? You click on Germany, you scroll through, you can see the map. It then gives you a video down here below. I'll pause that so you can hear me, but it gives you a video, and Miro goes into detail on each one of these videos about the leagues and opportunities and the levels, and it even gives you links here to the DFB, which is the governing body of football in Germany.
And if you scroll down, all the teams as well.
Yeah, so it's really in depth in terms of all of the different resources and media links and all kinds of stuff here where you can really explore and dive into this website. It does take some time, but it's definitely I highly recommend you take a look at it and dive into it and really, like anything else, you have to educate yourself as a parent, as a coach, and really kind of dive into it. And really, all depends on how committed you are, right? How committed you are to wanting, a child to play at the next level. And what can we do to help manage that and be a resource and an advocate at the same time. And then Miro, obviously being there in the background, being able to help along the way is an excellent tool as well. So
the one thing I didn't touch upon tonight, because like normally these workshops go for hours because there's so much ground to cover. And this is one element about soccer recruiting that most parents and players get excited about when I share, and their response is, I knew it. And that is, soccer is the most subjective sport in the world when it comes to judging talent. It's not about statistics. I, as a soccer agent, I have seen the most mediocre players make it to the professional ranks, and I've seen the most talented, incredible players not make it because they didn't have the right opportunities, they weren't in the right place at the right time, or they were just not seen by the right coach. The first time that I went to Europe and I was, promoting one of my players, and I showed a scout a video, and he looked at it and he said, "Okay, that's great, Miro. It's like, of course, you're only going to show, their greatest highlights, which I understand. You're not going to show the mistakes." He said, "But mark my words, you show that video to 10 different coaches and you are going to get 10 different opinions." And he was so right. Every single player that I represented, and I'm talking about players that went on to play, like my original client, Frank and Joe. Joe played 250 games in the German Bundesliga, played 100 plus games for the Croatian national team, one of the greatest defenders ever, I believe. I was told by countless coaches and scouts that this guy's not good enough, he's too slow, he's too this, he's too that. And again, I had that whole spectrum of not good enough, fantastic, mediocre, pretty good, average, and that applies to every single player. And that's why I never got discouraged, because if you find the right scout and the right coach that likes your player for whatever reason, it's a style, it's a certain aspect of your game. Maybe you're slow, but your crossing's great. Maybe you're not strong in the air, but you're strong in tackling. There's so many facets to soccer. It's such a creative game, and it's so subjective. So the more you bombard and get your players' name and vision out there, the better the chance they have of getting recruited by a scout or a coach. And I cannot emphasize that enough.
That's great. Now, what would be next steps for families that are potentially interested? What does that look like?
If they want to, take the Soccer Family Agent course, it's basically an 8-module, 13-hour course. It's embedded with the World Soccer Resource Center that also lays out the soccer landscape, not only in the US, but internationally. So you can explore, 25 countries on the women's side that have professional women's soccer leagues. That could be a destination for when your player turns 18. But also on the domestic front, where there's multiple leagues in the US, is probably over 150 developmental clubs at senior level that players could be aspiring to. But the 8-module Soc Family Agent course, it literally provides you with every facet to being a professional agent that not only knows how to manage the career of a soccer player, but knows the soccer landscape out there and can start the process immediately and manage their player and, be their mentor. Like I said, I always call an agent-player relationship a collaboration, because, once a player finishes what they do in practices and in games, the agent then is an extension of what they've done. And an agent goes out there and promotes what they've done and puts it on the radar of scouts, of other agents in other countries, of assistant coaches. And basically, and it doesn't happen overnight. A lot of players, they need to be, promoted for a period of time. They get the attention of a great scout or a club, and then it's a follow-up and it's showing full games and getting them to watch them in person. But it's the way that you connect dots and generate professional opportunities. And I have generated a 33% discount for any parents if you use, I generated a special code NJC 33. So anyone that's interested, anyone that does take the course, I also offer my, obviously one-on-one consulting for an hour as well, just to help that process. But again, it's something I'm passionate about. I want to empower every parent and player and enlighten them about, the whole process of leveraging your pathway and getting professional opportunities.
Well, Miro, thank you for your time tonight. Appreciate
Absolutely.
this. And I'm looking forward to future conversations as well. And thank you again. I know a lot of families are excited to see this video and share it with I'll share it with the club, share it with the people that signed up, and I know our staff as well. A number of them are still on the field right now, but I know a number of them had inquired about hearing about this. So if any other questions come about and they're looking for your contact information, I'll point them in your direction and we'll keep talking.
Absolutely. And happy to be here, guys, and happy to be back if you want to do it again.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will do this again soon.
Great. Thank you, PJ.
Thanks, Miro. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
That's it.